How's it going, guys? It's Cole with See-Through Panel showing off Klaus, How Santa Claus Began by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora, published by Boom Studios, and retailing for $35 US. That is a bit on the steep end for a hardcover of this size, but it's very nice production. Gilded edges on the pages, as you can see, look very nice. And I'll show off the binding here. Nice sewn binding there. So you're paying for what you get, and I think it is a really nicely put together hardcover, and I will definitely credit the designer as we get to that part of the video. But first, I want to thank everybody that's been watching and subscribing lately. I've had an influx of viewership and subscribers, and I really appreciate that. Keeps me motivated to making these videos, so thank you guys so much for that. And as always, I will be talking about this book. I might be spoiling it a little bit more in the story than normal, but as always, I'll try to keep it to a minimum, and I might flip through some pages that you see that may be spoilers. If you're worried about that, read the book, and we can talk about it afterwards. And so let's get into this book. Nice end papers with very awesome imagery once you're used to the story. It's a nice coupling of characters there. So, written by Grant Morrison, illustrated by Dan Mora, and he is also coloring it. There is no other credited colorist. Lettered by Ed Dukeshire. Designer was Scott Newman. Editors are Eric Harburn and Matt Gagnon. Klaus, sole creation by Grant Morrison. I'm curious about that, as Dan Mora is the first and only illustrator on this series. But Scott Newman, I know you're not watching this, but you did a fantastic job. This is a beautiful hardcover with pretty decently high production value, and I just love the use of gold. There are multiple hardcovers of this. Grant Morrison and Dan Mora are known to come back in the Christmas time of each year and do a little one-shot or something like that of the Klaus universe, and they've missed some years, but from what I've seen, I think that they're going to come back this year, and I'm super excited to see some new stories with Klaus. But this is the main course of the meal that is Klaus. All those things are kind of dessert. This is really the big story. The overwhelming majority of the story comes from this initial, I believe, 7-issue miniseries. So, Dan Mora. My first viewing of Dan Mora is this book. I'm not sure. He probably had some more underground stuff come out, but this is his first mainstream debut with Boom. And he is coloring and drawing this, and it is wonderful. I know the coloring is definitely digital, obviously. I don't know if he illustrates traditionally or digitally, but I don't really care. He is just, at this point, one of the fastest and busiest men in comics. He puts out multiple covers a month and often does multiple books a month. At DC, he's very busy. He's basically the go-to artist at DC right now, working alongside Mark Waid. And he's also going to do a Klaus story for Christmas, so I love that. The dedication is easily visible. And his coloring in this is also fantastic. I love his use of snow and the white to play off the red of the cloak. Getting into the story lightly, we're following a man named Klaus in a roughly medieval time. It's just called Once Upon a Time in a Place, so there's no definitive setting, but it's Yule time, and Klaus is they call him a wild man. He lives outside of the city and comes here to trade and get goods and things like that. And he sees injustice being done and takes it upon himself to stop this injustice and shame the men who were committing it. I should say, in this city, Yule time is kind of frowned upon, and basically all the joy of Christmas is taken away in dramatic fashion by the big bad evil lord of the city. And so Klaus is basically trying to bring some happiness back to the people. And for standing up for this kid, he is basically, they're going to execute him, but they give him a chance to run just to make a game out of it. He hides behind a rock and asks them why they're doing this. Lily, the awesome, this hardcover is big, so I have to turn it, sorry. The awesome wolf pet, Lily, saves him, and just things escalate from there. I won't say much more than that. I'll definitely show off some art that's more than that. Things get crazy quickly, but I will say that the Lord's son Jonas and wife Dagmar are also major characters in this story, and the interplay between the characters is really nice. And oh my gosh, going strong immediately, Dan Mora. Yeah, as you saw with the previous scene of him standing up for the kid right here, and then getting the crap kicked out of him by a bunch of guards. I think Grant Morrison has an uncanny ability to make paragons, like beacons of morality. He's well known for All-Star Superman and his Action Comics run, and I think that makes a lot of sense reading this. This character is as moral as Superman. He knows what's best at all times. He would never do anything to oppose that. And it's really a feel-good story, especially being a Christmas time story. It's definitely something I reread every Christmas, and it's just a feel-good story. I mean, there are moments in it that are down moments, but on the whole, you need that for a plot, obviously. Like, you have to have some rise and fall, and it's really feel-good no matter where you are in the plot in the end, because Klaus is just a heartwarming character, and his relationship with Lily is also just so beautifully illustrated by Mora and written by Morrison. Things get trippy here. It's Morrison. They have a tendency to, I mean, these are Yuletide spirits, but I mean, they're gray aliens. They're gray aliens, and there is a point later that I'll just flip to it because it's insane. The Yuletide spirits come and visit him once again, and it's like an alien probing, kind of similar to the Don to Don thing, but with a very ripped man. He's basically being operated on by aliens, and it's seen as like magic and Yuletide. I just flipped. That's wonderful. Magic and Yuletide spirits portrayed in that way is something wholly original. I think I haven't seen anything like that, and it makes so much sense with Grant Morrison. They love this sort of thing. They dabble in the magic. They dabble in the UFOs and the paranormal and stuff like that. And it just makes so much sense. And combine that with this wonderful artwork. Unfortunately, I can't show the tops of pages because the hardcover is so large and my camera setup won't permit it. But just look at that. The color is all you need to see. Communicating through music. And he kind of goes into a feverish state, and through the night works and wakes up not remembering what he did last night, and he made a bunch of toys. And I love Acid Santa Claus. I think that's amazing. You can make a better Santa Claus for me. He's saying, what am I supposed to do now? And I think we all know what he's going to do. He goes right back to the town he just got kicked out of and starts delivering joy and gifts that are illegal. And there's your drama for the story. It's a man trying to raise up a society as another man tries to bring it down. And even the bricks. Dan Mora illustrates the hell out of the bricks, too. I love the white between. It's like, I think it's uncolored. Like, I think that's paper white. I can't tell, though. But yeah, this is just something I love and love and love, and that's that same poster from earlier you may have seen. And it's early Dan Mora. There's no doubt about it. It is early in his career, but he comes out fully formed from what I can tell, and is just killing it here in this story. And it gets very arch towards the end with a big bad evil guy and a monster and things like that, but and it's at its heart, this is a very grounded story about Christmas and about a man who just wants to do what's right. And there's even a little bit of romance in there that ends the story just beautifully and leaves you with a little hook to read the one-shots that continue on with the story, but you don't need to, obviously. That's just extra. It's not at all necessary. This is a complete story in itself, and I couldn't recommend it more. It's Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I don't see it talked about. Obviously, it comes up a lot in the community, the comics community around Christmas, but when talking about Grant Morrison, I don't see it come up a lot. But this is one of the best things that they've written, in my opinion. It's just so simple and it's very elegant, and it gets what it's trying to. It does what it's trying to do without being super over the top. It doesn't get lost like some of Grant Morrison's stuff does. They have a tendency to aim for the fences and sometimes whiff a little bit, but this is just... Where's the magic? Yeah, this is awesome. I love the story. I'm just kind of flipping through towards the end to show you some of the really crazy, action-packed stuff towards the end here. There's a spread. There's a spread. So Santa, acid Santa Claus, with his sleigh being pulled by wolves. I mean, this is comic book Santa. This is like, with lightning striking behind him, a la Dark Knight. Like, this is comic book Santa Claus. This is so cool to me. It's over the top in just such a fun way. I mean, it's also like young hot Santa. It's so comics. He's so ridiculously good looking. Everyone's like, it's hilarious to me. I love it. But it's also just so heartwarming and has like a real soul to it. That's heavy spoilers. Don't look at that. Doesn't matter. Don't look at that. This is cool. Mora really showing off, I think, here with both color palette and line art. Just wonderful stuff. I'm going to get into some spoilers here towards the end, guys, in case you're worried about that. This is an old story, but the art is to die for, and I want to show it off. That's, like, the color of that. That's basically blood, but the color of it is so different. That reminds me of Superman there, just like the thing barreling towards Earth. Yeah, and then the last panel. Finally got some white in the beard, and still Lily there. I love the very impressionistic, very geometric look of that panel. And I'm not gonna I won't stay on this page too long to avoid spoilers, but this makes me cry yearly. that spread makes me cry yearly, and it will continue to do so. It is wonderful stuff. So here's a little gallery towards the end here. Fraser Irving variant cover. Tonally, I think it misses the mark, but it's very much Fraser Irving. Really good stuff. Chris Burnham. Again, it's just nothing feels right except for Mora. So tonally stuff feels off to me, but I mean, it's Mora's book, and David Rubin. I never noticed this before. Okay, maybe he also can share it with Mora. He's the only one, in my opinion. Love Rubin. But yeah, a fantastic book. Recommend it wholeheartedly, and I recommend the sequel hardcovers as well, which, as I said before, are equally well constructed with the gold pages. Yeah, it's awesome. It's feel good. It's a Christmas story, and now that you've made it towards the end, I will admit this is my favorite Christmas story in my collection, but it probably, from what I can think of, is also the only Christmas story in my collection. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Check this out if you haven't. If you have, let me know in the comments. We can talk about this book, because I can just gush about this thing all day. If you got any other Christmas stories that you'd like to recommend, I would love to read them. I love this time of the year, and I would love to dive into some Christmas-themed comics. So thanks for watching, guys. Peace.